Welcome back to another episode of Unspoken Heart, the space where truth meets testimony and silence turns into strength. I am your host, Corinne Deanna Lane, and today we're diving into another real raw conversation. Man, I'm super excited about my guest today. His story, his testimony is just really dear to my heart. Like, it's really like the moments where you hear from God about what your assignment is and what you're supposed to do, and you delay until God's like, hey, did you hear me? And I feel like, it's really personal to me even as well. And that's something that I've also dealt with. And so I'm just going to just jump in, introduce my guest. Christian Gibbs is in the building.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm just, I'm excited. Okay. Yeah. I call him my nephew. Right. He calls me auntie. Right. It's, he makes me feel old, but maybe I'm like a young auntie. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's it. Right, it's like a youthful.
Right. It's a respect thing.
No, I get it. I understand. But I really am just excited for just you to be able to tell your story. Mm-hmm. A portion of course, right. You're a young guy, just out here living life. And I think it's just important for the audience, for your audience and people that are drawn to you, to kind of hear your journey and how you've gotten to this point, mm-hmm. In life. So if you could just kind of introduce yourself, just kind of tell everybody who you are, and then we're just gonna jump into your story.
Yes, ma'am. Well, hello, beautiful people. My name is Christian Gibbs. 24 years old. I'm a singer, songwriter, professional dancer, actor, vocal producer, worship leader, and now youth pastor for my church. Shout out to New Glory Christian Center. My pastors, my mom and dad, Pastor Sharon and Raymond Green. And I'm just a young man who loves God with all of his heart. But my assignment now is to be a bridge for the lost and introduce those to the ones who found me. It's all as simple as that.
That's so good.
Yes, ma'am.
I love that. Introduce those to the one who found me.
Yes, ma'am.
Ooh, that's so good. Okay. So let's jump in. Like, I know, you've shared with me your story, mm-hmm. And there are many people who know you, mm-hmm. And many that don't, you mm-hmm. know what I mean? And so I kind of want you to just kind of let's begin industry. You know what I mean? Like, how did you even, because you were raised in the church. Right. So how did you end up in the industry? Kind of tell us a little bit about the start.
Well, I think I started playing drums when I was maybe about 2 years old. And then I really got into music and entertainment and theater. Back when I was in South Georgia, I was in show choir, and I think I maybe was like 7 or 8. And I really fell in love with that. I think the first time, one of the first performers I ever saw was Michael Jackson's 30th anniversary celebration. I think he had it at Madison Square, and that's how I got introduced to Usher at 16, Destiny's Child, NSYNC, Luther Vandross, and all these people. And I remember my biological mother, before she passed, she sat me in front of the TV, and I'm just watching, and I'm like, I want to do that. And then years later, I got introduced to Jacob Lattimore and Mindless Behavior, and those was like big inspirations for me because we was around the same age. So I'm like, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. So I started writing my own music when I was between 10 and 12. I recorded my first song on my phone when I was about 12. That's still somewhere out where you can find it. I'm not going to say where, and I'm not going to say what the name is, but if you find it, you found it. And I think that was like the start. When I was about 15, my biological mother passed away from cancer. And so my father and we ended up moving to Florida. And I think Florida was really like the birthplace of just my artistry, of really just going out there and just branching out. My brand, started doing music with a good friend of mine. We started a group, shout out to my bro A-Rod. We started a group called King's Legacy. And then that throughout South Florida, we was able to do a lot. Like, we was doing competition shows and festivals and things. And so I was like, man, I'm really doing it. Moved to Atlanta. God caused me to move to Atlanta in 2020. Okay. I get introduced to an R&B group here. And then I joined the group, and I'm like, 3.5 years I'm in the group, and we rocking and rolling. And I think that was like my true introduction to like the music industry and the business of music. Okay. In 2020. So rocking with that group, and we did a lot, working with people like T.I. and Tiny, Kenny Burrs, meeting people like Eric Ballinger and all these different people. And so really like going to different cities and having fun. So it's most definitely been a beautiful experience.
Wow. Okay. I mean, you just summed up.
I tried.
You just summed that up really well.
Okay, I tried. You know what I'm saying? Because most people say I can talk. So I was like, let me try to figure out.
You summed that up so great.
Great.
You're like from God. 10 all the way to what, 50, 60?
And now, present day.
Till present day.
See, y'all should be proud of me. Because most of my friends be like, bro, you can tell a whole story in an hour and you don't miss nothing.
You don't miss nothing.
So I tried. There we go. God is working.
Yes, that was so good. Okay. So industry-wise, so you've been in the industry,
mm-hmm.
well, the industry as far as artistry, performance, things like that,
mm-hmm.
since you were like 10, 12 years old.
Yeah.
And then you kind of got like, I guess what you would call a serious.
Yeah, professional. 18, 19.
Industry, 18, 19 years old. Okay. So what made you come to Atlanta?
Honestly, so I had just graduated high school 2019, and I think 2020 COVID had just hit.
Okay.
And so around March of 2020, I'll never forget, I had a family member who lived in Atlanta, and it was like, yo, I have a job opportunity for the Atlanta VA Medical Center. And so it was like they're looking for people to hire. And at the time I was young, and it was like good money. So I was like, I prayed about it. The pastor who I had at the time was like a spiritual father, and I was his leading musician at the time. So I went from playing drums to playing keys for him. And so I was like, hey, how do you feel about this opportunity? And he said something to me. He was like, son, he was like, sometimes God will cause you to just step out on faith and just see him while you're stepping. And so I was like, I didn't want to leave Florida because that was like my home.
Yeah.
Like that was like everything I knew. But I said, well, if this opportunity is here for me, I'm going to just take it and see. And that kind of led me to taking that job, led me to being in Atlanta, not knowing that. I think I moved to Atlanta in July of 2020. I got with the group in December of 2020, but I didn't even know. And I didn't know. I had every intention on, I'm going to go to Atlanta because I know they call it Black Hollywood and maybe music. I can network for myself, not knowing that, God had a door already open as soon as I got there.
So as far as the group that you entered into in December, how did they find you? So
they found me via Instagram. Yeah, I was following a young lady who was a part of the management company with the group. And so I was following her, not knowing that there was a bigger entity behind it. I just knew her. And so she was on Instagram Live one night. I'll never forget. It was probably like 11, 12 at night. And she was doing like a talent show. So I get on there and I'm like seeing all these people, and I'm just be honest, half of those people was not good at all. And I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, bro, just let me go. Like, I just want to do this one song and I can get up out of here. And I remember it was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and I wanted to get off. But something in me was like, no, stay on. So I remember I sent that last message and she brought me up. And I did a song that it was an original song that I wrote to my mother that deceased. And I performed it. And in the comments, I see so many people, hey, we need to get him here. We need to connect with him. He's a star. And then so one of the people from the company, they reached out to me that same night. And it was like, yo, where are you from? Like, are you in? I said, I just moved to Atlanta. It was like, oh, we're in Atlanta. Come meet us.
Wow.
And then that meeting led to, at first, hey, we want to bring you in as a solo artist. Like, okay, cool. So it's like, we want to work with you. We want to get you this, that, and the third. And I think that was around Thanksgiving of 2020. That next week, December 5th, 2020, I got a call and it was like, yo, come in. We want to meet with you. I walk in this room and it's 4 chairs. And I'm like, I said in my mind, I said, there's no way I'm finna get put in the guy group. There's no way. Because I'm like, I just left, like, me and my best friend, we was doing the duo situation, but he was in Florida. I was in Atlanta. So it was like, he was going off to the military. So I'm like, bro, well, I'm going to just do the solo thing right now. And I'm like, group? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
These other 3 guys come in and they're like, hey, the manager at the time, they were like, God told me to put a guy group together. And so I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, God is involved. I'm like,
he says, gotta
you
be
got
good.
my attention. Okay. So I'm like, I don't see why not. I'm not doing anything. And, this could be a big opportunity to lead to something.
Yeah.
So after that, we just started working.
Wow. No, so hold on. Your first thing is God is involved.
Right, God is involved. That's the first thing I hear.
I feel safe.
I'm like, God group. I'm like, man, and I love God groups, but for me, I was like, I just did that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
even before the duo situation, like I had a bigger group with a bunch of us. It was like a whole group of friends. We called ourselves Young Kings. So it was like 2 of us was singers, 2 of them was rappers, 3 of them was dancers, 1 was a photographer. So it felt like a little business. And so I was like, after that, and then to do the duo situation, I'm like, y'all just had a conversation with me about me focusing on me. Now I'm finna get in another group. But I'm like, you know what? God has a plan.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna follow that. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so after getting in the group,
Right.
okay, and so now you guys you're doing kind of probably like maybe some artist development type stuff.
Yeah.
You're probably showcasing. So take me through the time, like once you get in this group and everything that you're doing, that kind of led up to the moment where you kind of had maybe the first time that you felt the Lord speak to you.
I say the first time was, I would say 2022. And we were getting ready for a huge concert for an album that our creative director at the time, he had put together. And so it was a huge album. It was very successful. We was doing great. And so the team decided to put a concert for all the artists that was on there. And I remember, through 2021 and 2023, while going through that group, like personally, I was going through, in lack of better words, I was going through hell on my own. Like, we was really struggling, like, with the job, because people don't understand when you're trying to be in this business, especially with music, there's a lot of sacrifices that come with that. And, we were 3 young men. The difference is I literally came to Atlanta on my own. I had family here, but of course, there were things that happened that caused my family and myself to kind of separate, due to just, I look at it as them not really understanding me. And so I was put out, like I went 2021 and 2022, I may have went homeless twice, lost my first car, but within that year, I remember I bought my first car on a Monday. It got totaled on Thursday. I'll never forget that. It was a Chrysler 2027, Chrysler 200. It was all silver. I bought it on a Monday, and it got totaled that Thursday. And I'll never forget. And that night, I remember, I didn't go to the hospital because I don't do hospitals. I'm not a fan. And so I took some NyQuil and I went to sleep. And I forgot I had a meeting that night with the team in the group. So everybody, I woke up with like 200 plus messages. Everybody, Christian, are you okay? Like, where you at? Blah, blah, blah. Like, we still got business. And so I'm going through that. I'm going through the fact that, where I'm living at the time, which was with family, they're trying to put me out. And I'm like, why? And so going through all of that, then 2022, I was living somewhere else with another family member, just to find out the whole time I was living with them, they were stealing from me. So then I leave there, sleeping in my car, the new car I get, lose that car because I don't really got no job. So that car breaks down, then gets repossessed. And so I'm living with a friend. And it's like all of these things that I'm naturally that person to where I've learned. At that time, I learned how to mask it. I was always the guy that everybody knew. I was a spiritual guy, and I was always the light. So anytime you saw me, smiles, energy, and that's just what I knew how to do. And I deal with what I had to go through in the secret place. And so it just reached a point to where I was getting tired. Like mentally, physically, I was getting exhausted. And I'll never forget the week we were preparing for that concert. Myself and the other guys, they were going through it. Mind you, they lived with their families, but we were all going through it, trying to make this group thing work. And we all just had a moment to where we kind of just lost it. And we're, talking to our team, and we're just in tears like, yo, I'm going through this. I'm going through this. I'm going through this. And it kind of just put us in this space of, I never forget, one of the guys came to us that next day and he said, yo, if y'all tell me right now, like, it's over, like, and this is the day before the concert. He said, if y'all tell me right now it's over, I'll send him an email and I'll tell him, yo, we won't be performing tomorrow. Like, this is it. And I never forget one of the other guy in the group, because it's three of us at this point. Okay. So the other guy in the group, he was like, hey, this is all I know. Like, this is music. Like, this is all I want to do. And then the guy who initiated it, he was like, no, because you've got an agent now. Like, you just booked a movie, so you can do other things. So, like, this is not the end all be all anymore. And he was like, yeah, but this is what I love to do. And so, they're in agreement, and I'm like, I'm hearing them, but this whole time I feel when I say every fiber of my being is screaming no. But I'm not understanding where this no is coming from. Because in my mind, I'm staying through I'm thinking through all the sacrifices, through all the heartache. I'm like, as a believer, this is where God does his best work. So I'm like, okay, God, you gotta be doing something. And I'm thinking like, maybe this is a test. So, but I'm feeling everything within me say no. And I expressed that to them, but I'm like, I don't believe, like, for myself, like, God has called me to this space just to be like, it's over. And I remember those guys said something to me. They was like, Christian, out of all of us, you'll be the one that makes it within this music. Like, you'll be the guy to make it. Like, and I'm listening, I said, man, I made a promise to y'all when we first got into this group that we're going to ride it till the wheels will fall off. Blood, sweat, and tears, homeless to get whatever. Like, there was moments to where we all put change together to get something to eat. And so in my mind, I'm thinking about that. And I never forget, I went home that night, and my friend that I was living with at the time got us Waffle House. I had never felt sick like that in my life. I couldn't eat. Like, my whole body shut down. I didn't know what was going on. And now, like, just through clarity and everything, I look back in that moment and I was like, I remember somebody prophesied to me and they told me, like, you had a spiritual shutdown. And it was like God was trying to get your attention and he was trying to save you. But because you got caught up in what a lot of people get caught up in, people pleasing and this falsified idea of what loyalty is, I stayed. And the next day we did the show, we killed the show. So we're thinking after the show, we done killed, everything's supposed to go up. Nah. So I think that was like the first initial moment where I was like, yeah, God was calling me into another direction.
Okay, so, man, okay, that's a lot. I'm trying to process in the time of just literally everything that was happening, walking up to the moment of, like, even just your hardship, their hardships as individuals, and then y'all coming together, like, kind of talking to each other about it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm going through this, you know what? Let's just bump this, you know? And then at the same time, you're like, but wait, hold on.
Right.
It's almost like you're kind of having this, you're having the moment of clarity, but then you're still, because there's still so many other people involved. So it's not just a individual decision.
Right.
It has to be kind of a collective, decision. So after the showcase, you did the showcase and you're like, okay, it was supposed to go up.
Right.
What did it do?
I think after the showcase, maybe like a month, I think that was November. So December, I think we all went on a group trip with some friends to the cabins, and we all had a heart-to-heart conversation just as far as going into 2023. We was like, man, we're going to lock in. We're going to get some stuff done. We're really going to push. And I'm trying to think, I think that 2022 year, I think we had already recorded the EP that we had. I think it was either that year or 2023. So in our mind, we're like, well, let's push this project. Like, let's get the single out. Like, let's just show the people, like, because there was high demand for us, which was another, like, kind of frustrating thing for us, because it was like the demand for us was so high. So it's like, what's happening? Like, why are we not, like, it feels like it was always like this roller coaster. Like, we was going up and then we go down. And sometimes when we went down, it was like we just stayed there for a while. And so I say 2023 was crazy, because one of the guys, he ends up getting booked for like a big production out in Broadway. So, we're of course, that's like our brother. So it's like, go. And, that was a hard conversation within itself, because it's like, well, what do we do with the group? And I'm one of those people. I'm like, the group don't stop. You know, like we still do what we have to do. And so, you know, time goes by and it's like he's doing his thing, you know, me and the other guy that's still in Atlanta, like we're trying to figure out, do our things. We was getting booked from different things. So I say, I did a youth conference here in Atlanta and in July. And I never forget, it was like a 3-day conference. And the first day, it was like a morning and a night session. And it was at Thursday. And it was at Thursday morning, a young lady, I go up into the green room, and this young lady who I've never spoke to before, I'm walking past her. And I'm going back down the stairs to go back into the gymnasium where they was having the service. And she ran after me. She said, Christian. I was like, what's up? And she was like, the Holy Spirit would not let me leave this building until I talk to you. And she said, God said, until you give him all of you, everything that you ever pray for won't come. But the moment that you give him all of you, everything that you've ever prayed for will come suddenly. And so that just sat with me. And I was just thinking, I'm like, okay, God, like what? So the next week, the first week of August, I said, you know what? I'm putting myself on a fast. And I said, this whole week, I'm just going to dedicate it to God. I'm going to pray. I'm going to seek God because I'm like, I need to know. Because at this point in my life, I just got kicked out of another place of where I was living. So it was like, and I was trying to save money to get into my own space. And I got booked for The Wiz in Atlanta, and the director to this day, shout out to Brian Jordan Jr. if you see this, it was one day, because I was doing that show, and I think one rehearsal, I was in an Airbnb, and I came to the rehearsal, and just like I said earlier, I'm always the light. So since they met me, they know Christian that's happy-go-lucky, smiling, cracking jokes, and getting his work done. So he sees me, and everybody's sitting in there, and you know, I'm trying to smile through it, but you can feel the energy's off. So he sends everybody on a 10. And he said, bro, come here. He sat by me. He was like, what's wrong? And don't lie to me because something's off. And I said, and I felt everything within me just say, be honest. And I just said, bro, I'm gonna be honest. I'm tired. So I'm tired. And I just started crying. And I'm just telling him like my situation. And that man, he broke down and started crying. He said something to me that has stuck with me. He said, bro, you are too gifted for your situation to be what it is. So he said, let me help you. And he paid my down payment for me to get in my apartment. That next day, he was like, tomorrow, that was a Sunday rehearsal, I believe. And he was like, that Monday, he said, bro, I'm going to come get you. I'm going to take you there and I'll pay the down payment. And the down payment was like $2,000. And I move in there. Fast forward, I get the word from the young lady. I'm like, okay, cool. First week of August, I'm consecrating, I'm fasting. And every day I was praying to God, and I'm like, okay, God, I'll give this up. I'm like, whether if it's drinking, like, and I wasn't even a heavy drinker at the time, but for most people, they don't understand, like, when you're seeking for peace, a lot of times you're going to cope with every way you're going to get it. And so, you know, most people think, you know, well, I'm just an alcoholic because my dad or this person. No, you're just seeking for peace. And that was something that God helped me with, whether it was alcohol, hookah, wanting the urge of wanting to get high, or even, you know, being promiscuous and fornicating. It was like I was searching for peace and love because I was always the person that was easily able to give it out to everybody, but could never receive it and or get it from the same people I would give it to. And so I'm like, God, if you want me to give this up, I won't do it. You want me to give this up? And every day I'm snotting nose, crying, should have bought a bow tie, all that. And I feel like I would get up and feel worse the next day. And I'm like, okay, God, what is it? And I never forget, it was a Saturday. My friends at the time, they were coming to my apartment because we were celebrating one of our homegirls who graduated college. So my friends are coming, and also one of the guys that was in the group was there. So this Saturday, this prayer felt different because I'm like, I'm angry with God because I'm like, okay, I'm praying, I'm confessing, but I'm like, you're not saying nothing. And if you are, I can't hear you, and it's upsetting me. And so my friends are in the living room. I'm in my room with the door closed, fighting for my life. I'm calling. I never forget, I called my big bro, who I've known since I was 10 years old, who's a pastor, Pastor Michael Jordan. Love you, bro. Him, I call my parents. And I'm like, bro, I said, I need you to pray for me. I said, God is trying to tell me something, but I can't hear him. And the first thing he said to me, he said, bro, the Spirit of God told me to tell you, come out from amongst them. And just as loud as I'm sitting to you and this mic is on, I heard the name of the group be yelled in my ear, and I broke down, started crying. I hadn't cried like that since my mother passed. And the pain or the tears really came from, is like, I knew you was going to say that. And it's like, why? And then on top of the fact that I got my friends here who knows, and one of the guys from the group is in here. I'm like God, like really? And so I battled with that all day. And it wasn't necessarily my yes to God that was a problem. It was just more trying to understand. Yeah. Like, why? Like, what was the point of everything? Like, I've sacrificed, I've lost a lot, and you're going to tell me to leave? So I never really comprehended that. And so when I finally just eventually, I talked to my brother, I talked to my parents who are now my pastors, and, my mom gave me great insight, and she was like, son, understanding that your season is up. Like, you were sent there to be a form of, more than anything, just a form of spiritual impartation. Because it's like, look at their faith level since being with you. Because when we first met, like, those guys had their own church hurt experiences, or people hurt, because there's really no such thing as church hurt, but people hurt within the church. And so being around me of someone since day one, since they met me, like, my faith was everything. I was always talking about God. Sometimes they'll be like, Christian, you're too optimistic. And I'm like, no, I just believe that God. I would always tell them, bro, we'll be at the Grammys next year. They were like, bro, we haven't even put in Grammy work. And I'm like, bro, trust me, you just got to believe. You just got to believe God. And that's how I've always been. And so when she helped me see that perspective, I was just like, okay, God, I understand you want me to do this. And this is a heavy yes. You got to show me how to do this, though. Like, you got to show me how to do this, especially and just as sure as I asked, he laid it out plain. Who to call, what order to call, what to say, how to say, when to say. And I was able to, at least at that moment in time, I was able to just say, hey, pick up the phone. Because I was never one of those people to, like, send a message, or I felt like in relationship, I'm not going to break up with you over text message. I respect you enough. I can't say I love you if I don't tell you the truth. Yo, hey, this is where my heart is. It's nothing personal. It's spiritual. Yeah. I've missed God already, and I refuse to miss him again.
How old are you?
24.
24 with that level of wisdom, you know what I mean? With just that level of, like, first of all, even just hearing from God, you know what I mean? And you being so sensitive in the fact of just like, I know you're speaking, I know I'm feeling away, and being able to seek out the Father and even be surrounded by people that you trust, that you can receive from, that are, you know what I mean, that you can call and be like, hey, here's the situation. Especially even being a young man, being able to do that. That's huge. So like, literally, like, shout out to that, and shout out to you, and just who you've been around, who've raised you, you know what I mean? Like, because that's just, especially for your generation, it's almost rare to see. And man, okay. So you have to make this call.
Right.
Because again, when you are a part of a situation, or you're managed by, someone, or you're signed to a situation or whatever, it's not just an individual decision.
Right.
And like, you're like, okay, I know I heard from God. I know, like, it's loud and clear. It's clear as clear can get. How does one communicate this to the collective and the entities that be? Yeah,
and that's why I was very prayerful, and I was like, God, if this is something you want me to do, like, you have to really take the wheel with this, because I had to learn, especially now, just because you hear from God does not mean the people around you heard him too. And most people, especially if it's not going to benefit them, you telling them you hear from God is like, okay, cool. But what that got to do with me, and what they got to do with what we're going on. And so I make the call that night. Like there was no hesitation because I'm like, God, I don't want to keep feeling like this. Like I went a week of fasting and this was the answer I needed. Okay, cool. There's no prolonging it. And so I call, one of the guys from the group, he was very understandable due to the blessing that God had opened for him with the opportunity that he has, that, I believe he still has, that was able to change his life. And so he was like, hey, bro, I respect you enough because you came and told me, because you didn't have to. Like you could have sent the message, or you could have sent an email, or you could have just walked away. He was like, but the fact that you had the decency, to call me or to call us, it was like, I can't argue with the voice of God in your life because I know you hear from God because I've seen it before. And so, with the guys, I think it was more so, well, with him, I think with the other guy, it was more so just trying to understand. It's like, I feel you, bro, but then at the same time, I don't know. And I felt like, even with like the managers and the power that be at the time that we had, they were like, hey, if that's what God is telling you to do, like, I may not fully agree or understand it, but I'm not going to be the one to question God in your life. And so, we'll just have to talk about the business things later. But if that's where you feel God is leading you. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I think that next week, I was booked doing something. I was shooting this pilot for this show for a friend at the time. And so I get a call during that week from the manager at the time, and they were like, hey, I want you to talk to a spiritual advisor that I have, that I talk to in different situations when I hear from God or I'm praying about certain things, just so you can get a second opinion. And I was like, okay, cool. And I never got to call him through that week because I was busy, but something in me, that same something that was said in 2022. That was like, no, I felt that same strength of no. And it was like, do not call, do not call. And for me at the time, I didn't want to, number one, I didn't want to feel like I was ignoring them or being disrespectful. And, and a lot of times, one thing I understand is when God is, and I'm going to say this to y'all, when God is calling you to do something, sometimes there's no need for an explanation. Do what God has called you to do and live with that. God says he'll give us a peace that surpasses all understanding. That you may not understand what God is calling you to do in the moment, but that peace will outweigh the understanding. And so, and I've learned wherever their peace is, that's where God is. And so, but me at the time being a people pleaser, and I didn't even know I had that real bad. And so I was like, man, let me just call to see what's up. So I called the person that she tells me to call. And let's just say by the end of that conversation, I was in my room on the floor crying like, God, I'm so sorry. I let the devil use me. I'm talking about I was in tears. I'm like, God, I let the devil use me. I knew it. And now that I've grown through that and like spiritually I've gone closer to God, I can look back and see I was still very vulnerable because that was all I knew. Yeah. And there was a part of me that did not want to leave because in my mind, I'm like, God, I sacrificed a lot to be in this group and I'm leaving with nothing, like nothing at all. But the memories and songs that, majority of them I created and or assist with the creating process. Right. So now I have all these memories and I'm like, huh? And so by the end of that conversation, they was like, y'all are not doing nothing right now. So why would God ask you to leave a situation when y'all are not doing nothing? Y'all are literally on the shelf. That don't make no sense. And so I'm like, dang, you right. Because it sounds good because I want to be back there. Even though I know within my heart that's not true. And because it's appeasing to what I really want. Cool. Okay, yeah, God, bet. And the same, now I always respect the fact that I had the same decency that I had to call them that I was leaving. I called all of them and apologized. I was like, yo, hey, listen, I believe I miss God. And I'm looking at them and, and it almost felt like they knew I was going to call and say that. So it was like, hey, I think I miss God. And they're like, listen, It's okay. Like, we understand. That just means, the devil's just trying to separate us because we're on the verge of something big. And lo and behold, literally, I would say like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, if I'm not mistaken, we get a call from this big A&R guy. He's like, I've been watching y'all. Mind you, this is somebody that knew we existed before and that tried to work with us in the beginning stages. But, the deal at the time that he wanted, we didn't want that at the time. But now, he comes back and it's like, hey, whatever y'all want to do, I just want to work with y'all. And I'm like, and I'm looking at it like, oh yeah, God, thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Because I'm like, this is coming right after I apologize. I'm like, yeah, we're in the will of God. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, man, we about to go up. Nope. Nope. Not at all. I think
my goodness.
Right after that, we start working with the guy and we signed with him. And so I think the day after, I started working at this warehouse. And I'll never forget, I did a night shift. So I would work from 11 a.m. to like 7 in the morning. And my lunch break was at 2 a.m. And I look at my phone and they were blowing up my phone. And I'm like, yo, what's going on? They was like, man, you won't believe who we just got off the phone with. I'm like, who? And they was like, L.A. Reid. And I'm like, huh? And then they was telling me how the conversation. They was like, the guy who we had signed with, he had posted our video on his page. It was like L.A. Reid seen it. And he was like, I want them. Like, I want to bring them out. And I think within maybe a week, we ended up in L.A. performing for L.A. Reid. And that same day, L.A. Reid was like, I want to sign them. And he was like, I didn't even know at the time that him and Usher had their own label thing that they just started. And he was like, man, I want to sign them. Like, I want them. Like, he was like, I'm giving y'all my yes. He was like, but, of course, I can't say anything without Usher because Usher is the other 50%. Right. And so, they were sending us song after song after song. And we were like cutting the records, and they didn't like any of them. Which I wasn't surprised because it didn't sound like us. And mind you, I'm going through this process and still feeling like I'm out of place. Like, I'm excited about L.A. Reid. I'm like, this is L.A. Reid, this is Usher we're talking about. Like, this is one of my musical inspirations. Like, this is why I do what I do. And I'm like, I still feel out of place. And I'm like, it was like there was this grief on my heart that wasn't mine. Because I'm like, I should be happy right now. And I'll never forget, it was around maybe October and November of 2023. The Holy Spirit put on my heart fast. So I go on another fast for a week. And I go on my TV, I go on YouTube because I don't watch TV. I watch YouTube. Like, if it's not cartoons or somebody making food or somebody playing games, I'm not watching TV. I am a child. And so I'm a big kid. And so I go on YouTube and I recommend it. And this pastor come up, Pastor Jerry Flowers, shout out to him. If you not listen to him, that is a great man full of wisdom and spiritual knowledge. And he comes across my recommended. I'm like, I've never heard of him before. And the series that he was doing was a series called Voices, How to Hear the Voice of God. And I'm like, and I think it was like 14 sermons. And so Monday through I think Sunday, I was watching all of them. I think by that Thursday, I'll never forget, it was one sermon that he was saying that he's saying it's hard to hear God when you have so many other voices at the mic. And sometimes God can be in the back, because he said God is never silent. He's always speaking. Either we can verbally hear him or his word, and we're getting his word. And so he was like, but it's hard to hear God when you have the voice of your own self, which is the voices of your insecurity, the voices of rejection, the voices of abandonment, the voices of your own desire, and you got the enemy's voice louder than God's voice. And so when he's saying all these things, and by the end of that message, I find myself on the same floor crying. I don't know what's up with all this crying on the floor. Y'all, I am not this emotional, but when it comes to God, I've learned to let it out. And I'm like, God, what? So I didn't miss you.
Wait, so you're watching this
sermon
series during your fast?
During my fast. Okay. I'm watching the series during the fast. That was like my word. And by the end of that night, when I finished the episode, I'm like on the floor crying. I'm like, God, I didn't miss you. Because during this series, I'm gaining clarity because I'm learning how to hear God more. And all the things that I'm learning, I'm like, these are things I've done, or these are things now that I'm implementing, and it's clearing up. It's clearing up my spirit, man, so I can hear. And so I'm like, God, I didn't miss you. So now I'm repenting. I'm crying. I'm like, God, forgive me. I'm angry because I'm like, I done signed papers when I knew I shouldn't have signed them papers. And I never forget, there was a peace that God gave me. And he spoke to me and he said, you said yes to things I told you no to, but I'm still going to love you through it. And that same night, the Holy Spirit, he told me, he said, all your things in my apartment at the time, I had my at-home hookah that friends of mine got me because they knew like that was like my comfort thing. And so I had my at-home hookah. I had some edibles in my drawer. I had, I think, a bottle on the floor, and I had 2 condoms in my bathroom. And the Holy Spirit was like, throw it all away. You don't need it anymore. Because now the peace that you've been looking for, you can now have because you can hear me. And so I remember I got the biggest black trash bag I can find, and I threw it all away. And this is when I knew, because I always heard stories of how like God can talk to you and God can be very descriptive. And the only thing I have is PSD and Ethica underwear. And so I had a specific pair. It was like a Trojan pair and it was a Magnum pair. And so the Holy Spirit was like, throw those away too. Because he said the only time you put them on is when you already made plans to fornicate. And I was like, I bet. Yeah, you if I didn't know you was real, you ripped for sure. And I threw it all away. And then I in my room with my best friend A-Rod at the time, like he came for Thanksgiving. So I want to say this was the week before Thanksgiving in November. We rededicated our lives to Christ in my room. And it was like, God, I said, God, I'm going to take you seriously. Because, of course, like I've been raised in church my entire life. Right. All I know is church. But it's different when you're serving God from a place of obligation and not from a place of relationship. And I had to build my own relationship with God to really know him for myself. I had encounters and moments, but to really truly say, God, I'm locking in with you, good, bad, or indifferent. And I'm like, now, after I do all that, he brings back the first instruction. Leave the group. How do you want me to do that? Like, I done signed it, and this is like the end of 2023. And mind you, there was other things going on as far as like, there was a level of disconnection starting to build between, you know, me and the guys and different things in the team. So things are slowly falling apart anyway. And so I never forget, my mom, she called me. My mom is a prophet. And she called me and she said, son, she said, God, it was December 31st. She said, son, God told me to tell you, entering this new year, you got to make a decision. And your yay got to be your yay, and your no got to be your no. Like, no longer is he's going to play this tug of war game with you. It's either you're going to trust him all the way or you're going to do what you want to do. And so I'll never forget, January 1st, 2024, I got in my friend's car, drove right down to the facility, sat in the office, me and the manager. I said, listen, with a smile on my face, God hasn't changed his mind about me. That's exactly what I said. I said, God hasn't changed his mind about me. I said, I've been trying. I tried, but I got to go. I said, it's not personal. I said, it's spiritual. I have to go. And the question that was asked was, well, here's the thing. Like, I just don't understand, you know, I'm not going to question the voice of God, but where are you going to? Like, I just don't believe that God is going to tell you to leave a situation and he's not telling you where you're going to next, which if you study the Bible, that's false. Because, you know, the Bible teaches us even with Abram, he says, take your family, pick up everything that you know and go to a land that I will show you. Didn't give clear instructions, just trust me and follow me. And so at the end of the day, I had to learn that God will never give you step 2 until you obey step 1. And a lot of times he knows that step 1 may cost you a different level of sacrifice. So it's like, why would I go ahead and give you the next step? Because the next step may be harder. And I said, I got to go. And they was like, where are you going? I don't know, but I know I'm going with him. And that's all that matters for me. And so, mind you, now it's a different situation because there's another power involved.
Exactly.
And so they was like, well, we got to talk to this person. And so I was like, well, whatever we got to do. And so I never forget, as soon as I got home, the other person calls me, the power involved, the A&R, he calls me. He's like, yo, I hear that, you're trying to leave. And, their mind, they're thinking because my living situation, my personal situation hasn't changed. At this point, the apartment that I did have, I lost it because I had no job. I wasn't making no money. So I get evicted. I'm back homeless. I back moved in with a friend. Shout out to her because she was always like that door of whenever you need a place to lay your head. I call it sweet tea. Shout out to her. Wherever you need a place to lay your head, like, you got it. And me and her had went through certain things, but that foundation of friendship, and because she believed and she knew the hand of God on my life, she was like, I won't be a person to turn on you. And so I ended up moving back in with them, and it's like, I heard, you trying to leave, and I heard about your living situation. In my mind, I'm like, how do you even know about that? Like, I'm a private person. I don't talk about, the only people that know is like the guys, because like we're like brothers, and the team, they ended up learning like a little bit later because I would share certain things. And so he was like, well, let's sit down, have lunch, to have a conversation about everything you need so you can live the life that you want. And I'll never forget, I was like, my spirit, I was like, no. And I'm not ignoring this no this time. I was like, yeah, it's not personal, it's spiritual. And I said, I just gotta go. And then the conversation and the tone switches into, well, legally I can do this and I can do that. And because I was still putting out music as a solo artist. Like, I'm a creative and I was never going to let that stop. And so it was like, legally I can send you a cease and desist, and you can't do this and you don't do that. So I'm going to give you time to think about it. So now, in true transparency, there's a level of fear because you're attacking the thing that I love the most. Right. And the only thing that's keeping my head above water is music. Yeah. So now I'm in this dilemma of, okay, what do I do? Because I'm like, granted, there is like legal things involved, but I'm like, God, I know you're telling me to leave. Yeah. And I'll never forget. That's why if you don't have a praying mother or praying family around you, my mom, I called her, and I remember she said to me, she said, son, I got two things for you. She said, number one, if you believe that you can be in this group and continue to be a light, and she said, I say that because what God has been doing with you, because the first week of the new year, she told me, she said, son, God said, go on a fast, and he's going to begin to show you things and reveal things to you. And she told me when I called her about this contract, she was like, if you know you can't be a light, because the enemy is going to try you because of the way God is transforming you. And there's going to be a level of darkness that come your way. And if you can't be a light, don't stay. But she said, son, I'm going to tell you something. I know and I believe and I serve a God that if he's telling you to leave, he don't care about no contract. Get out. Run. Don't ask questions. And I said, okay. And I remember they still wanted us to, it was like, how about you finish one album? Like, you finish one album and we can talk about, you, after you do your obligations, we leave. So I'm like, okay, we go to the studio. It was 3 studio sessions that was supposed to happen. I only went to one. The one I went to was like the last one I needed to even go to, because there was a conversation that was had about, we sat there for like 5.5 hours going back and forth on, what's the sound of the group? What do y'all want to do? And so they played us this one track, and, they had the B word in it. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm cool with the song because I know I got a job to do, but I said, I'm not saying that. I was like, why not? I was like, I don't believe in demoralizing or diminishing women. I'm like, I have a mom, I have little sisters, I have, female friends who, I have real women that I know that don't even like that. And they're like, it's slang, it's just a word. Like, they say it to each other. I'm like, I'm not going to promote or reimburse ignorance. I'm not doing that. And so, then it's like, oh, you must be the spiritual one of the group. Absolutely, 100%. And then, you know, we're going back and forth. And then I'll never forget one of the guys in the room, one of the producers, he was like, I get that y'all have y'all morals. I get that y'all have all the things y'all believe in, but y'all got to put that to the side. We trying to get to this money. We trying to get to these shows. We trying to get to all of that. And we can come back and get that later. No. After that, I'll never forget me and the other guy that was there in the group. We called our manager, was like, this what was said. I'm not doing that. And so we were supposed to have, they kind of tried to, you know, de-escalate the situation. We were supposed to have 3 other studio sessions. And this is how I know. And this whole month, this is all happened in January 2024. All 3 of those studio sessions got canceled. One of the producers ended up catching COVID. Another producer, I think his son ended up catching a stroke. And the 3rd session, I was getting confirmation after confirmation, like, leave. People who've worked with the same people that I'm working with, leave, get out of there. So I'll never forget, it was a Sunday night. I said, God, because the last studio session, the 3rd one was supposed to be that Monday. I said, God, if you want me to leave this group, that studio session will be canceled. I get a call at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, the studio session was moved to Wednesday. I said, bet. That's all I needed to know. So now I'm like, man, I'm finna do this again. I'm finna have to call these dudes, call everybody again. And I remember I tried to call my best friend and I tried to call my mom and my phone wasn't working. I'm like, huh? So I'm like, oh yeah, T-Mobile, I gotta pay them. I paid T-Mobile. T-Mobile said to me, I owe 6 cents. I ain't never heard that in my life. I said, y'all pressing me about a nickel and a penny, 6 pennies. So I paid a 6 cent. Weird, right? I paid a 6 cent. I'm trying to call them, not working. I try to FaceTime them, not working. So I'm like, okay, cool. I go in the bathroom. I'm about to take a shower because I had my own studio session with my homeboy. Shout out to Dane. I had my own studio session with him. And so I get in the shower, I get in the bathroom, I put on my worship music, meditation music, and I'm just sitting. I remember I was sitting on the toilet, and I was just sitting there, and I'm just like, I break down and start crying, and I fall to the floor, and I'm like, God, this is so hard. And the Holy Spirit said to me, he was like, I've already told you what to do. You got to make a decision to trust me. And I said, all right. I'm trying to get off the floor, and it felt like all of gravity was pulling me down. And I heard God as clear as day said, until you do what I tell you to do, your phone's not going to work because you're trying to call people to get validation on something I already told you to do. And that scared the life out of me. I jump in the shower, and I felt like, and I look back on that moment, I said, God was really trying to show him that he's God over everything. And I was in the shower, and I remember my body was pressed against the wall. And I was trying to lift up my hand to get the rag, but I couldn't. And the Holy Spirit said to me, as you take a shower, you're washing off the things of old and you're accepting my new. And as soon as he said that, my hand went up and the water went cold. And I jumped out the shower, threw my clothes on, and I called them so fast. I said, listen, let me let y'all know something. I said, yo, for real, like this time, that was strike 3 for me. I said, listen, I miss God too many times. I'm not missing him for y'all no more. I gotta go. I love y'all. This is not personal. This is spiritual. I gotta go. And this time, like, you know, the guys, they were more receptive. They was like, bro, I respect you every time. Because you have the decency to come to us. And I can tell that this has been a real fight for you. And so, you know, they was like, at the end of the day, go do what God has told you to do. And at this time, I ain't even called the manager this time. I text them. I said, yo, nope. I said, I will not be at the studio session Wednesday. They was like, well, what about whatever he want to do? That's his business. You know what I'm saying? Well, what about the law? I said, listen, they want to, whatever attack they're going to come, because I had to remember, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. And so I'm like, at the end of the day, this is a spiritual thing. So this is a God fight. If God is asking me to leave, my responsibility, the Holy Spirit told me yesterday, your responsibility is a son. I'm the father. A son never worries about how the father will provide. He trusts that the father will provide. The son's responsibility is to be obedient. So I just had to be obedient and trust that my father was going to take care of me. And since that moment, he's been taking care of me. And so that's one of my biggest testimonies. And when I tell people all the time, like, God asked me to leave the group right before we were supposed to do a single, be signed with Usher, like before the Super Bowl. Like, that was a hall of a conversation. So people, when they ask me, they're like, you would leave a group when a life-changing opportunity? Cause I'm like, I need that money. I ain't got nothing. I'm like, what's the point of gaining the whole world and losing your soul? There's no point. I felt like a lot. I don't know what I've been talking.
There was just a lot said. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for your life. I'm grateful for your level of obedience. I'm grateful that you just proved that the Holy Spirit will chase you down.
Right.
He is so very concerned about you. He is so very mindful. He can see down the road, you know what I mean, far beyond what you could even have seen, you know what I mean? But the fact that you're like, I got to trust you. I'm not going to miss you again. And he still chased you down, even in your disobedience.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even in your thinking that you missed him or whatever, you still pursued him.
Right.
You still stayed in his face. You still were like, I don't, you know, but even in the moment where you looked for the validation and you couldn't get it, I feel like it was like a moment where the Lord was like, no, you hear me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, trust what you hear.
Right.
I don't think you'll ever forget that. I think that has shaped your trust in God. I think that has shaped you. I feel like that grew you up as a man, you know what I mean? Of just standing on the word, knowing what is true, knowing that he will not leave you. He is going to fight, you know what I mean, for you. And even the fact that you're like, the word is true. And I don't give a care about what no man thinks about what the Lord has told me to do. He's going to take care of that.
Absolutely.
Man, thank you. Like, for real.
Nah,
you have no idea what this does and how many people this is going to like really set free of just like, Lord, what am I supposed to be doing? And be able to pursue the Father in such a very vulnerable way, but even in such a very childlike way of just like, Lord, I don't know. I'm just out here. I just want to live my dream. You gave me this gift. What do you want me to do with it? You know?
And then I think even with that, you know, because people may ask, like, you know, hey, you know, don't assume that just because God is calling you from one place that it immediately gets better.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm thinking, well, God, if you're calling me from here, because I leave and another door opens a week later, and it's a bigger platform, bigger opportunity with bigger people, and I'm now doing, you know, working and helping, doing things with Christian worship artists now. So I'm like, okay, God, cool. Like, this is an opportunity. But even while doing that, I'm still like, I ended up getting homeless again. So now I was doing like corporate band work. And so I'm traveling throughout, you know, the US, the countries, singing at weddings and festivals, making, you know, good money. And I was using that money to, whether I was in a hotel or a B&B, making sure I had a roof over my head and food, while simultaneously doing this other bigger opportunity. And, you know, so when people started seeing me with this this bigger platform, you know, they think, oh, well, he left this situation to go do this, or he left this situation to do. I'm like, no. Even like working with the bigger situation, like I was still fighting. I was still having to trust God, because that was a situation that opened and closed simultaneously. So then now I find myself, I leave Atlanta, move back to Florida with the family I used to live with. I'm down there and I'm angry with God. I'm like, between July and September of 2024, I'm like, God, like what? Like, what is it? I leave the group, I do that. You bring me to this situation, and I'm thinking like, this is it.
Right.
It's open, now it's closed, they're silent. So I'm like, what do you want? And the whole time he's just saying, I just want you. And I'm like, that's so vague. Like, what does that mean? Like, I just want you. And I never knew that. And I'm able to look at it now, like 2023 and 2024 was a resetting, a refreshing, I call it my wilderness. And it was where God literally wants to wring everything that was Egypt, everything that was Christian, everything that was CG, everything that was me within the group, everything that was me getting hurt by my family, everything that was past, to now I'm in this space with more spiritual clarity, a sense of peace, a joy that I haven't experienced in a long time, free from certain bondages and baggage and burdens that I carried for years, and waiting for God to do the next big thing. I'm like, serving my church has been like a peace for me now, because I know God has called me for the big platform. I know what he told me, and I know what he promised me. So I just hold on to that. Yeah. But I know if God hasn't got me there yet, or if God hasn't got you there yet, there's still a level of preparation, because sometimes what God has is bigger than what we can comprehend. So that means there's a different level of preparation that has to go into it. Yeah. Because if we go in there prematurely, our blessing can crush us. And God, at least for me, he wants to make sure that you can handle it, because I know there's something big coming. So I'm just trusting the process. And if that means just serving the people every Sunday, I'm cool with that. Cool with that. Love y'all.
Wow. Bro, your level of wisdom at 24 is, I mean,
yeah, I tell people all the time, I don't think I'm 24. I be feeling like I'm 40.
No, 44.
I be feeling like I'm 44, 40, 50. And then people look at me like, how old are you? How old are you? I'm like, man, I'm 24.
24.
And it'd be the shock of their life. I'm like, listen, don't make me feel older than what I already am. I'm pushing 30.
Well, I'm excited because we're going to worship together. And I just want to thank you guys for just listening to this moment. As we end, I just want to just reflect, and I hope that y'all got the fullness of what God can do in your obedience. I hope you got the fullness of how God will pursue you even in your disobedience, that he is committed to you. He loves you. He's going to chase you down no matter how long it takes, because he loves you that much. And, but yeah, we're going to worship. The worship duet will be in the description below. So you can click the link below and you can see us just give God glory, because he's just so good.
Yes.
Stay tuned for the next one. Bye. Hey guys, I'm Deanna Lane.
I'm Brian Christopher. What's up, family?
Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to Unspoken Heart.
Unspoken Heart.
The mission behind this movement is really just giving people a platform to tell their stories, giving them a platform to share what they've come through, to share how God stepped into their situation and turned their lives around. I'm just excited to be able to provide a platform for that, especially for worshipers, especially for people that just have a story to tell, and they want to be able to share that and share the love of God.
We're just gonna keep growing this thing one episode at a time, one duet at a time, one story at a time, one testimony at a time. And hey, we're just gonna watch where God take us. Take all of us.
The episodes will drop every Saturday morning, so be subscribed so that you can be notified when they drop.
Make sure you're commenting, guys, because when you comment, you help the algorithm push this out to more people. And the more people we reach, the more effective we are in getting the word of God out. Unspoken Heart, thanks for tuning in to another episode. Every single Saturday, new episode, new worship duet.
In the description of the video, you can click it so that you can watch me and the guest worship together.